Welcome to True Crime Vault, your new home for chilling and suspenseful crime stories from all corners of the English-speaking world. Ever wonder about the dark secrets hidden in the quiet suburbs of the United States, or the unsolved mysteries lurking in the foggy streets of the United Kingdom? We dive deep into fictional cases that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Our stories will take you from the vast landscapes of Canada and Australia to the beautiful, yet sometimes eerie, scenery of New Zealand. Each episode is a carefully crafted narrative, designed to make you feel like you're right there, piecing together the clues. We explore the minds of fictional detectives and victims, creating a world of suspense and intrigue just for you. Stay tuned to start enjoying the next part of our true crime stories around the globe. Thank you so much for always following and sharing with friends and family. We love you all, our subscribers and followers.
Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned.
The year is 1942. The world is engulfed in flames. For Sarah, however, the war felt a world away, a distant rumble on the radio that punctuated the quiet rhythm of her life. Her husband, James, a respected engineer, was deemed too vital for the war effort to be sent to the front lines. He worked long, secretive hours at the local munitions factory, his mind consumed by blueprints and calculations. Sarah missed him, but she understood. They were all doing their part. Her part was to maintain a sense of normalcy, to keep the home fires burning, a sanctuary for James to return to each night. Their small town, nestled in the English countryside, had transformed. Uniforms were a common sight, and whispers of rationing and air raids hung in the air like a persistent fog. But within the four walls of their cozy cottage, Sarah fought her own quiet battles against loneliness. She'd fill her days with gardening, volunteering for the Red Cross, and writing long letters to James that she'd leave on his pillow, letters he rarely had the energy to read. He'd come home late, his face etched with a fatigue so deep it seemed to have settled into his bones. He'd offer a tired smile, a perfunctory kiss, and then retreat into the solitude of his study or fall into an exhausted sleep. The distance between them grew, a silent, creeping void. Sarah told herself it was the pressure of his work, the immense responsibility he carried. He was helping to win the war, after all. What right did she have to demand more? So she'd swallow her feelings and pour him another cup of tea, her own anxieties a low, constant hum beneath the surface of domestic peace. One rainy Tuesday, the routine shattered. Sarah was sorting through a pile of laundry when she found it, a small, elegantly wrapped box tucked away in the pocket of James's work coat. It wasn't her birthday, nor their anniversary. Her heart flooded with a confused mix of hope and curiosity. Perhaps he hadn't forgotten her after all. With trembling fingers, she untied the delicate ribbon. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, lay a silver locket, exquisitely engraved with a single, unfamiliar initial, E. The locket felt cold and heavy in her palm, a piece of a puzzle she didn't know she was solving. An icy dread began to seep into her veins, far colder than the damp evening air. Who was E? Why would James have this? The questions circled in her mind, relentless and tormenting. That night, when James came home, she watched him with new eyes. Every tired sigh, every averted gaze, was no longer just a sign of stress. It was a potential lie. The sanctuary she had so carefully built began to feel like a cage. Her suspicion festered. The next day, driven by a need she couldn't suppress, she ventured into his study, a room that had always been his private domain. She felt like a trespasser in her own home. Her hands shook as she sifted through papers on his desk. Underneath a stack of technical drawings, she found a small, leather-bound diary. It wasn't his usual work notebook. Her breath caught in her throat. She knew she shouldn't, that this was a violation of trust, but the discovery of the locket had already burned that bridge. She opened it. The handwriting was neat, feminine. The pages were filled with shared jokes, clandestine meetings, and declarations of affection. It spoke of a connection so deep, so passionate, it made Sarah's own marriage feel like a pale imitation. The entries were signed, "All my love, Eleanor." E. The diary belonged to a woman named Eleanor, one of the new secretaries at the factory. Reading those words was like taking a physical blow. The air was knocked from her lungs. Every line was a betrayal, a detailed account of the secret life James was living while she waited at home. The war had come to her doorstep after all, not with bombs and sirens, but with the quiet devastation of a broken heart. The enemy wasn't a soldier in a foreign land. It was the woman who described the way James's eyes lit up when he saw her, the man who was sharing his deepest fears and dreams not with his wife, but with a stranger. The betrayal was absolute. James hadn't just been distant, he had been living a lie. The fatigue she had pitted was not just from work, it was the exhaustion of maintaining a double life. For days, Sarah existed in a haze of shock and grief. The world outside, with its talk of sacrifice and patriotism, seemed like a bitter mockery. She had sacrificed her own happiness, her own needs, for a man who was giving his heart to someone else. The locket, the diary, they were artifacts from a hidden war, and she was its first and only casualty. Anger began to bubble up through the sorrow, hot and sharp. She wasn't just a victim. She was a woman scorned, and her quiet life had been a lie. She decided to confront him, not with tears and accusations, but with cold, hard evidence. She chose her moment carefully. It was a Sunday evening, the one night James was reliably home. She prepared his favorite meal, playing the part of the devoted wife one last time. The air was thick with unspoken words. As they sat at the dinner table, the silence was deafening. Finally, Sarah looked at him, her gaze steady. "I found something," she said, her voice clear and devoid of emotion. She slid the silver locket across the table. It spun for a moment before coming to a rest in front of his plate. James froze. The color drained from his face as he stared at the small, incriminating object. He looked up at her, his eyes wide with panic and disbelief. He started to stammer, a jumble of denials and excuses, but Sarah cut him off. "Don't," she said, her voice like ice. "I also found this." She placed Eleanor's diary next to the locket. The sight of it silenced him completely. There was no explanation, no way to talk himself out of this. The evidence was irrefutable. His secret world had collided with his domestic one, and the wreckage was laid bare on their dining room table. He just stared, his carefully constructed life crumbling around him. The confrontation was not the explosive argument she had imagined. It was something worse, a quiet, devastating admission of guilt through silence. James didn't fight. He didn't defend himself. He simply deflated, the weight of his deceit crushing him. He confessed everything. Eleanor was his escape, he said, a momentary reprieve from the crushing pressure of his work and the guilt he felt for not being on the front lines. He tried to explain it as a mistake, a weakness, but Sarah heard only the selfish justifications of a man who had shattered her world. In that moment, Sarah saw him not as her husband, but as a stranger. The man she had loved, or thought she had loved, was gone. In his place was a weak, deceitful person who had used the war as an excuse for his own betrayal. Her anger gave way to a profound, empty sadness. There was nothing left to save. The trust, the love, the life they had built, it was all gone, reduced to ash. The days that followed were a blur of hollow formalities. Sarah moved with a strange, detached clarity. She packed a small suitcase, her movements precise and deliberate. She took nothing that reminded her of him, leaving behind the ghost of the life they once shared. Each object in the house seemed to cry out with memories, but she hardened her heart against them. She was no longer the woman who waited patiently by the fire. She was a survivor. She wrote a short, simple note and left it on the kitchen table, right where the locket and diary had lain. "I'm leaving. Do not look for me." There was nothing more to say. She walked out of the cottage without a backward glance, the morning mist clinging to her coat. The town was just waking up, preparing for another day of the war effort, but for Sarah, her personal war was over. She was walking away from the ruins of a marriage, heading toward an unknown future. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to keep moving. She boarded the first train leaving town, watching the familiar countryside blur past the window. With every mile, she felt a strange sense of liberation. The pain was still there, a raw, open wound, but it was hers alone now. She was no longer defined by her role as James's wife. She was just Sarah. The war that had brought such widespread destruction had, in a strange and personal way, set her free. Her betrayal was a casualty of a conflict fought on two fronts, one across the seas, and one within the quiet walls of her own home. She had lost her husband, her home, her past. But as the train sped into the uncertain dawn, she realized she had found something far more valuable: herself. She was wounded, but she would heal. She was a survivor, ready to face a new world on her own terms. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content. Your support means the world.
Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned.
December 19th, 1999. December 19th, 1999. The Meadowlands in New Jersey. A sea of blue and silver, a battleground of fierce loyalty. The New York Giants versus the Oakland Raiders. This wasn't just another game on the NFL schedule. It was a collision of coasts, a clash of cultures, and for one man, the last night of his life. What happened in the stands that day would ignite a mystery that, over 2 decades later, police still can't explain. This is the story of a rivalry night that ended in a death shrouded in silence and unanswered questions. The air was electric, charged with the kind of tension that only a true rivalry can produce. Giants fans, known for their passionate, sometimes aggressive devotion, were defending their home turf. Raiders fans, the infamous Raider Nation, had traveled across the country, bringing their own brand of black and silver intensity. It was a recipe for confrontation, a powder keg waiting for a spark. And a spark is exactly what it got. Among the nearly 78,000 fans was 30-year-old Lance Easley. Lance wasn't just any fan. He was a season ticket holder, a die-hard Giant supporter from Westwood, New Jersey. He was there with his brother and friends, ready to cheer his team on. He was described by those who knew him as a good-natured guy, a hard worker who loved football. He wasn't the type to go looking for trouble. But on that cold December day, trouble found him. In the upper deck, Section 319, a different kind of drama was unfolding, far from the action on the field. Witnesses reported that a group of Raiders fans were being particularly rowdy, even by football standards. They were taunting Giants fans, escalating tensions with every play. According to reports, one of the Raiders fans, a man later identified as a 27-year-old from the Bronx, was at the center of the commotion. As the game wore on, the verbal sparring turned physical. It started with shoving, insults, and spilled beer, the usual chaos of a heated football game. But then, it escalated. A full-blown brawl erupted. Punches were thrown. People were knocked to the ground. It was a chaotic, violent scene, a blur of fists and jerseys. In the middle of it all was Lance Easley. What happened next is where the story becomes a confusing and tragic puzzle. According to some witness accounts, Lance was trying to act as a peacemaker, attempting to break up the fight. Others suggest he was drawn into the fray, defending himself or his friends. The details are murky, lost in the pandemonium of the moment. But one fact is tragically clear. Amid the chaos, Lance Easley went down. He didn't get back up. As the fight dissipated and stadium security arrived, Lance was found unconscious on the concrete floor of the upper deck. He had suffered a severe head injury. Paramedics rushed to the scene, working frantically to save him. He was transported to Hackensack University Medical Center in critical condition. Back at the stadium, the game ended. The Raiders beat the Giants, a bitter pill for the home crowd to swallow. But for the Easley family, the final score was meaningless. Their focus was on the hospital, praying for a miracle. For 2 days, Lance fought for his life, but his injuries were too severe. On December 21st, 1999, Lance Easley was pronounced dead. The news sent shockwaves through the community and the NFL. A football game, a place of entertainment and passion, had become the scene of a homicide. The New Jersey State Police launched a massive investigation. They had a crime scene, a victim, and thousands of potential witnesses. It seemed like an open and shut case, but it would prove to be anything but. Investigators interviewed dozens of people who were in Section 319 that day. They pleaded with the public for information, for anyone who saw what happened to come forward. They identified the group of Raiders fans involved in the brawl, including the man from the Bronx who was seen as a primary instigator. He was questioned extensively. He admitted to being in a fight, to throwing punches, but he denied delivering the fatal blow to Lance Easley. And this is where the wall of silence went up. Despite the number of people present, no one could, or would, definitively say who struck Lance. Was it one punch? Was he pushed? Did he fall and hit his head during the scuffle? The witnesses gave conflicting accounts. Some pointed fingers at the man from the Bronx. Others claimed they didn't see anything clearly. The chaos of the brawl provided the perfect cover. The term witness intimidation began to circulate. Were people afraid to talk? The Raider Nation has a reputation, fairly or not, for closing ranks. Was this a case of the black hole code of silence extending from the Oakland Coliseum all the way to the Meadowlands? Investigators couldn't prove it, but the lack of a cooperating key witness was baffling. The autopsy confirmed that Lance Easley died from blunt force trauma to the head. His death was ruled a homicide. Yet, without a clear witness to identify the person who delivered the fatal blow, the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office felt they didn't have enough evidence to secure a conviction. They couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt which punch, in a chaotic multi-person brawl, was the one that killed Lance. It was a prosecutor's nightmare. Weeks turned into months, and months into years. The case went cold. No arrests were ever made. No charges were ever filed. For Lance Easley's family, the pain was unimaginable. Not only had they lost their son and brother, but they were left without justice, without answers. They made public pleas, begging for someone, anyone, to break the silence. His brother said, "Someone knows what happened. Someone saw it. For them to not come forward, it's just not right. It's cowardice." The NFL and the teams involved also came under scrutiny. Questions were raised about stadium security. Was there enough security in the upper deck? Were they properly trained to handle such a violent outbreak? In the aftermath, the NFL and its teams implemented stricter policies regarding fan behavior, increased security presence, and limited alcohol sales. The death of Lance Easley became a tragic catalyst for change in how professional sports manage crowd control. But these changes offered little comfort to a grieving family. The story represents a dark intersection of sports passion and human tragedy. We go to these games to escape, to be part of something bigger than ourselves, to cheer and to feel. But for one family, that experience was shattered forever. The rivalry between the Giants and the Raiders is one of the NFL's oldest. But on that day, it transcended the field and left a permanent scar. So what really happened in Section 319? Was it a single, cowardly act lost in the confusion of a mob? Or was it a collective failure, a moment where passion turned to poison and a code of silence protected a killer? The police believe someone out there holds the key. The person who threw the final punch. The friends who saw it happen. The fans who looked away. Over 2 decades have passed. Memories fade, and people move on. But the file on Lance Easley's death remains open. It's a ghost that haunts the Meadowlands, a reminder that even in a stadium filled with 78,000 people, a man can die, and no one can be held accountable. The roar of the crowd can be deafening, but sometimes, the silence that follows is even more haunting. The case of Lance Easley is a chilling reminder of the dark side of fanaticism. It's a story without an ending, a question without an answer, a puzzle where the most crucial piece is missing. Someone, somewhere, knows the truth. And until they come forward, justice for Lance Easley will remain lost in the crowd. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into fascinating mysteries.
Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned.
In the dead of night, on a deserted stretch of highway, a single event would set off a chain reaction of confusion, mystery, and questions that linger to this day. This is the story of the Anthony Joshua car crash, a case that left investigators baffled and a community in shock. What really happened on that dark road? And why does the official story seem to have more holes than a block of Swiss cheese? Let's dive deep into the midnight highway case that left US police with more questions than answers. Imagine the scene. It's just past midnight. The air is still, the moon is hidden behind thick clouds, and the only sound is the hum of tires on asphalt. Suddenly, a screech, a deafening crunch of metal, and then, silence. When first responders arrived, they found a luxury car, mangled almost beyond recognition, wrapped around a highway divider. Inside, miraculously alive but disoriented, was a man who identified himself as Anthony Joshua. But this wasn't the famous boxer. This was a different Anthony Joshua, an ordinary man whose life was about to become extraordinarily complicated. The initial report seemed straightforward, a single vehicle accident, likely caused by fatigue or distraction. Joshua was taken to the hospital with minor injuries, and the case seemed open and shut. But as investigators began to piece together the events of that night, the simple narrative started to unravel. The first red flag was the car itself. It was registered to a corporation with no clear link to Joshua. He claimed he had borrowed it from a friend, but couldn't provide a consistent name or contact information for this supposed friend. His story kept changing. One minute the friend was named Mark, the next he was Mike. One minute they'd met at a coffee shop, the next at a business conference. Then came the physical evidence, or rather, the lack of it. There were no skid marks on the road leading up to the point of impact. For a car traveling at highway speeds, the absence of braking evidence was highly unusual. It was as if the car hadn't tried to stop at all. Furthermore, the vehicle's black box, the event data recorder that logs crucial information like speed, braking, and steering, was mysteriously corrupted. The data was unreadable, a convenient technical glitch that erased any digital footprints of the car's final moments. Coincidence? The lead investigator didn't think so. Police started digging into Anthony Joshua's background. On the surface, he was unremarkable. A mid-level manager at a tech firm, a quiet neighbor, no criminal record. But the deeper they dug, the more they realized how little anyone really knew about him. He was a ghost. He had no social media presence, a rarity in this day and age. He paid for everything in cash. His co-workers describe him as polite but distant, a man who shared nothing about his personal life. It was as if he had deliberately constructed a wall around himself, living a life designed to leave no trace. The investigation took another bizarre turn when a witness came forward. A long-haul truck driver, who had been a few miles behind the crash, reported seeing a second vehicle. He described a dark-colored sedan speeding away from the crash site just moments after it happened. He couldn't get a license plate, but he was certain another car was there. This completely changed the dynamics of the case. Was this a simple accident, or was Anthony Joshua being pursued? Was the crash an accident at all, or was he intentionally run off the road? When confronted with the trucker's testimony, Joshua's story shifted yet again. He now claimed he was being followed, that a dark car had been tailgating him aggressively for miles, flashing its lights. He said he panicked, lost control, and crashed. But his description of the other car was vague, and he couldn't explain why he had mentioned this critical detail to the police at the scene or during his initial interviews. His demeanor wasn't that of a terrified victim. It was calm, almost rehearsed. It felt less like a genuine memory and more like a story he was constructing on the fly to fit the new evidence. Detectives were stuck. Every lead turned into a dead end. Every piece of evidence was contradicted by something else. Who was this mysterious friend who lent him the car? Who was in the second vehicle, if it even existed? And most importantly, who exactly was Anthony Joshua? Was he a victim, a perpetrator, or something else entirely? The corporation that owned the car was a shell company, a labyrinth of paperwork leading to offshore accounts and anonymous directors. It was a professional setup, designed to hide ownership and launder money. An ordinary tech manager doesn't just borrow a car from a shadowy international corporation. The questions piled up. Forensic accountants tried to follow the money trail, but it went cold in a jurisdiction known for its banking secrecy. The police put out a public appeal for information about the dark sedan, but no other witnesses came forward. It was as if the event happened in a vacuum, witnessed only by a truck driver and a man whose credibility was eroding with every word he spoke. Joshua, for his part, hired a high-powered lawyer and refused to answer any more questions, citing his right to remain silent. The wall he had built around his life was now reinforced with legal steel. With no new leads, no confession, and a mountain of contradictory evidence, the district attorney's office had no choice. They couldn't prove Joshua had committed a crime, but they also couldn't clear him. The case was officially classified as unresolved and placed in the cold case files. It became a piece of local law, a ghost story whispered among state troopers and late-night dispatchers. The case of the man who crashed a ghost car on a dark highway and walked away, leaving behind nothing but a web of lies and unanswered questions. What is the truth? There are several theories. One theory suggests that Joshua was involved in some form of corporate espionage or was a courier for a criminal organization. The crash might have been an accident, but his secretive nature and the strange circumstances surrounding the car were part of his cover. He was a professional, trained to reveal nothing, even under pressure. His conflicting stories weren't signs of a liar, but of a man trying to protect a larger operation. Another theory is more sinister. Perhaps the crash wasn't an accident at all. Perhaps Joshua was the target of an assassination attempt by a rival organization. The second car wasn't just following him, it intentionally ran him off the road. In this scenario, his survival was a fluke, and his refusal to cooperate was born out of fear. If they tried to get him once, they would surely try again, and talking to the police would only paint a bigger target on his back. And then there's the third, most unsettling possibility, that Anthony Joshua himself staged the entire event. Perhaps he needed to disappear, to fake his own demise or create a major distraction. The corrupted black box, the shell corporation, the disappearing friend. What if these were all elements of a meticulously planned exit strategy? He crashed the car, created a scene of chaos and confusion, and used the investigation as a smokescreen to vanish and start a new life under a new identity. Maybe the man the police interviewed wasn't the real Anthony Joshua at all, but a double. Years have passed since that night. The wreckage of the car is long gone. The stretch of highway has been repaved, but the mystery remains. The Anthony Joshua car crash is a textbook example of a case where the more you learn, the less you know. It is a puzzle with too many pieces that don't fit and too many missing corners. It serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most bewildering mysteries don't happen in grand conspiracies, but on a lonely stretch of road in the middle of the night, leaving us with far more questions than answers. What do you think really happened? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this case as fascinating as I did, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the unexplained.
Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned.
You're scrolling through your favorite sitcoms, looking for a laugh, and you land on Malcolm in the Middle. You see the chaotic family, the hilarious pranks, and you think, it's just a show, right? But what if I told you there's a darker story, one that fans have pieced together, hidden just beneath the surface of the comedy? A story that starts with a frantic 911 call and ends with a collection of home videos that paint a picture far more disturbing than anything you've seen on screen. Today, we are diving deep into a theory that reimagines the entire series. This isn't the Malcolm you remember. This is the story the police pieced together from the home videos they found after the chaos finally boiled over. So, what is this theory? It suggests that everything we see in Malcolm in the Middle isn't just a sitcom. It's a collection of home video evidence, reviewed by authorities after a major domestic incident. The show's unique style, with Malcolm breaking the fourth wall, isn't just a quirky narrative choice. It's Malcolm, years later, providing commentary on these tapes for a therapist or a detective, trying to make sense of his own past. He's an unreliable narrator, using humor to cope with the trauma of his upbringing. The frantic, high-energy cuts and chaotic scenes? That's not just for comedic effect. It's the raw, unedited reality of a household teetering on the brink. Each episode is a case file, a memory he's forced to relive. Let's start with the matriarch, Lois. In the show, she's the loud, overbearing, but ultimately loving mom. Her punishments are extreme, her yelling is constant, and her control is absolute. We laugh because it's presented as comedy, but through the lens of our theory, her behavior takes on a much darker tone. Imagine a home where every minor infraction is met with disproportionate rage, where the threat of punishment is a constant, suffocating presence. The boys aren't just mischievous, they're acting out against a system of control that's become unbearable. Lois isn't just a strict mom, she's the source of the family's deep-seated anxiety and dysfunction. The home videos would show a woman whose anger isn't funny, but frightening. Her constant screaming isn't a punchline, it's a relentless barrage. Think about the episode where she hunts down the boys for a minor offense, her fury escalating to a terrifying degree. In a sitcom, it's a chase scene. In a home video, it's evidence of an unstable and volatile parent. Then there's Hal. Goofy, lovable, incompetent Hal. He's the good cop to Lois's bad cop. He's the one the boys can sometimes turn to. But is he really? The theory suggests Hal is a classic enabler. He is so terrified of Lois's wrath himself that he does nothing to protect his children. He retreats into his hobbies, his roller skating, his quirky projects, anything to avoid confronting the reality of his home life. His inaction is a form of neglect. He lets Lois be the monster so he can remain the fun dad, but in doing so, he abandons his sons to her fury. The home videos would capture this subtly. You'd see Hal nervously glancing at Lois before answering a question. You'd see him distracting the boys with a silly game right after Lois has had an explosive outburst, not to comfort them, but to manage the situation and avoid another conflict. He's not a hero, he's a man paralyzed by fear, and his paralysis leaves his children vulnerable. His passivity is as damaging as Lois's aggression. Now, let's look at the brothers, the products of this environment. Francis, the oldest, is the first to escape. His storyline, being sent to military school, is played for laughs. But is it really just about him being a troublemaker? Or was he sent away because his rebellion became too much for Lois to control? He was the first to truly challenge her authority, and he was exiled for it. His entire arc is a desperate attempt to prove he can survive without his family, but he constantly finds himself in situations that mirror the chaos he left behind. He can't escape the patterns he learned. The videos of Francis would show a kid who wasn't just bad, but desperate for attention and validation that he never received in a healthy way. His calls home aren't just comedic check-ins. They read the desperate pleas of a lonely kid trying to connect with a family that pushed him out. Reese is the next in line. He's portrayed as the dumb bully, the muscle of the group. But his behavior is a direct result of his upbringing. He solves problems with his fists because that's the only language of power he understands. He sees Lois rule with intimidation and rage, so he mimics it. His lack of empathy, his cruelty, it's not because he's inherently a bad person. It's learned behavior. He's a scared kid trying to project strength in a world where he feels powerless. The home videos would be filled with moments where Reese's aggression isn't funny. We'd see him lashing out at his younger brothers in ways that are genuinely hurtful, a direct reflection of the aggression he witnesses from his mother. His culinary talent, the one thing he excels at, is his only non-violent outlet, a small glimpse of the person he could be in a different environment. And that brings us to Malcolm. The genius, the narrator, the one who sees everything. His intelligence is both a gift and a curse. It makes him acutely aware of the dysfunction around him, but it also isolates him. He's too smart to fit in with his family, but his social skills are so stunted that he can't connect with anyone outside of it either. His constant breaking of the fourth wall, his commentary, is his coping mechanism. He intellectualizes the trauma. He turns the horror into a sitcom in his own mind because the reality is too painful to face head-on. He's the family's documentarian. He's the one who, metaphorically or literally, is holding the camera. He's trying to create a narrative that makes sense, that has a punchline, because the alternative is just bleak, unending chaos. The videos would show a boy who is constantly anxious, overthinking everything, trying to calculate every possible outcome to avoid his mother's wrath. His genius isn't just about a high IQ. It's a survival tool developed to navigate a volatile and unpredictable world. Even Dewey, the youngest, isn't spared. He's often ignored, forgotten, and left to fend for himself. He develops his own strange, isolated world as a result. His quiet, artistic nature is a retreat from the noise and anger of the household. He talks to insects and creates his own symphonies because the human world he lives in has failed him. The videos would show heartbreaking scenes of neglect. Dewey, left behind on a family trip. Dewey, eating scraps from under the couch. These are played as dark humor in the show, but in the context of our theory, they are tragic evidence of a forgotten child. His eventual manipulation of his parents shows he's learned the family game. You can't win by being good. You win by being smarter and more manipulative than everyone else. He is the quiet observer who learns the most effective survival tactics of all. So what was the 911 call? The theory doesn't specify a single event, but it's easy to imagine. Maybe Reese's bullying finally went too far. Maybe Lois completely lost control and became physically violent. Maybe Hal, in a moment of crisis, finally snapped. Or maybe Malcolm, seeing no other way out, was the one who made the call. The point is, something happened that was so severe, so far beyond the normal chaos, that outside authorities had to get involved. The sitcom we've been watching is the aftermath. It's the evidence. The home videos, combined with Malcolm's testimony, are all that's left to explain how a seemingly normal suburban family could implode so spectacularly. This theory transforms Malcolm in the Middle from a light-hearted comedy into a poignant and tragic story about the cycle of trauma. It doesn't mean the show isn't funny. The humor is still there, but it becomes a defense mechanism. It's the laughter of people who are in pain and don't know what else to do. We're laughing along with Malcolm as he tries to process his own childhood. It's a chilling recontextualization that forces you to look at every joke, every prank, and every family argument in a new light. The Carnarvon family, Stevie's family, they aren't just quirky neighbors. They represent a stable, healthy environment that serves as a stark contrast to Malcolm's home life, highlighting just how abnormal his situation truly is. Stevie's parents are overprotective, sure, but they are present, caring, and they communicate. Everything the Wilkerson household is not. When you watch the show again, look for the signs. Watch Lois's eyes when she's truly angry. Watch Hal's flinching, nervous energy. See Reese's violence not as a joke, but as a cry for help. And listen to Malcolm's narration, not as a funny commentary, but as the testimony of a survivor trying to piece his life back together. The home videos are the evidence, and the story they tell is one of neglect, rage, and the desperate, hilarious, and heartbreaking ways children learn to survive. It's a comedy, yes, but perhaps the darkest one you've ever seen. What do you think? Does this theory hold up? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite shows.
Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned.
4 names, for friends, 1 unbreakable bond. At least, that's what everyone at Northwood University said about Liam, Maya, Chloe, and Noah. They were the kind of friends you read about in books, sharing everything from late-night study sessions to dreams for the future. Liam and Maya, they were the couple everyone envied. Their connection was electric, a slow-burn romance that had finally ignited in their sophomore year. Chloe was the life of the party, her laughter echoing through the dorm hallways. And Noah, the quiet observer, the glue that held them all together with his calm, steady presence. They were a perfect constellation, orbiting around each other, blissfully unaware of the darkness creeping in at the edges. Their world was a bubble of inside jokes, shared meals at the campus diner, and promises of being in each other's weddings. Liam, the aspiring architect, would design their future homes. Maya, the future journalist, would write their stories. Chloe, with her business acumen, would manage their finances, and Noah, the artist, would paint their portraits. They were young, brilliant, and felt utterly invincible. They planned a celebratory camping trip for the end of the semester, just the four of them, to a remote spot by Eagle Lake. It was meant to be a final adventure before summer internships scattered them across the country. They packed their bags with cheap tents, marshmallows, and a youthful certainty that nothing could ever change. They were wrong. So terribly wrong. The night started just as they had planned. A crackling campfire cast dancing shadows on their smiling faces. Liam had his arm wrapped around Maya, whispering secrets that made her blush. Chloe was trying, and failing, to teach Noah a silly dance, their laughter mixing with the chirping of crickets. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and the promise of a perfect memory. As the stars blanketed the sky, they talked about everything and nothing. They felt like the only four people in the world, suspended in a moment of pure, unadulterated happiness. But happiness is a fragile thing, and as the fire dwindled to glowing embers, a tension they'd never felt before began to settle over the group. An argument, small and insignificant at first, started between Liam and Maya. It was about something trivial, a comment Liam made, a look Maya misinterpreted. Chloe and Noah tried to diffuse it, to bring back the easy camaraderie they had just hours before. But the words got sharper, the silences longer. Fueled by a little too much cheap wine and a semester's worth of unspoken stress, the fight escalated. Liam, proud and stubborn, said things he didn't mean. Maya, hurt and sensitive, retaliated with words that cut deep. It was a storm that had been brewing beneath the surface, and it finally broke. Liam, needing space, stormed off into the woods, his angry footsteps swallowed by the darkness. Maya, crying, retreated to her tent. Chloe and Noah were left by the dying fire, the silence between them now heavy and suffocating. They looked at each other, the same question in their eyes. How did this happen? How did their perfect night shatter so completely? Chloe, ever the peacemaker, decided to go after Liam. "I'll talk to him," she said to Noah, her voice strained. "He just needs to cool off. We'll sort this out." Noah watched her disappear into the blackness of the trees, a knot of unease tightening in his stomach. He checked on Maya, who had cried herself to sleep. Alone, he sat by the embers, replaying the argument in his head, feeling a strange sense of foreboding wash over him. An hour passed. Then, too, there was no sign of Liam or Chloe. The woods, which had felt so magical before, now seemed menacing. Noah's unease turned to genuine fear. He called out their names, his voice sounding small and weak against the vast wilderness. Only the wind answered. He grabbed a flashlight and forced himself to follow the path Chloe had taken. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves sent a jolt of adrenaline through him. He found Liam first. He was sitting on a fallen log, his head in his hands. But he was alone. "Where's Chloe?" Noah asked, his voice trembling. Liam looked up, his face pale and confused. "Chloe? I haven't seen her. I thought she was with you. We talked, we argued a bit more, and then she said she was heading back to camp. That was over an hour ago." Panic, cold and sharp, seized both of them. They were no longer four friends on a camping trip. They were two terrified boys in the middle of nowhere, with two of their friends missing. Because when they rushed back to the campsite, they found Chloe's tent and Maya's, both empty. The sun rose on a scene of utter chaos. The local sheriff's department had arrived, their cars a jarring intrusion into the serene landscape. The search began. Days turned into a week. Divers scoured the icy depths of Eagle Lake. Volunteers combed every inch of the surrounding forest. Liam and Noah were questioned endlessly, their story picked apart, their friendship scrutinized. The campus that had once been their playground became a landscape of suspicion. Whispers followed them everywhere. People who once admired their tight-knit group now looked at them with accusing eyes. What really happened that night? The media descended, painting a sensationalized picture of jealousy and betrayal. Liam's argument with Maya was twisted into a motive. Noah's quiet nature was reinterpreted as something sinister. Their bond, once unbreakable, was fractured by guilt and suspicion. Liam was consumed by what ifs. If only he hadn't argued with Maya. If only he hadn't stormed off. Noah was haunted by the image of Chloe walking into the woods, by the minutes he sat alone, waiting. The love story between Liam and Maya was now a tragedy, replayed on the nightly news. The friendship that had defined their lives was reduced to a police file. And then, a breakthrough. A hiker, miles away from the campsite, found a discarded camera. It was Maya's. The final photos were developed, and they told a story no one expected. The last picture wasn't of four happy friends. It was a blurry, frantic shot of Chloe and Maya, their faces etched with fear, looking back at something, or someone, in the darkness. But who were they looking at? The discovery of the camera shifted the entire investigation. It proved Liam and Noah's account that the girls had been together. But it also deepened the mystery. Analysis of the photo's background revealed something investigators had missed: the faint outline of a secluded cabin, nearly invisible in the dense woods. The cabin wasn't on any official maps. It belonged to a recluse, a man who had lived off the grid for years, a man the locals whispered about but had never really seen. When police finally reached the isolated property, the story took its final, horrifying turn. The man, it turned out, had a history the system had lost track of. Inside the cabin, they found evidence that confirmed Chloe and Maya had been there. They had stumbled upon something they were never meant to see. The truth was more random and more terrifying than any theory of a friendship gone wrong. As the girls were walking back to camp, they'd gotten disoriented and stumbled upon the cabin. They saw something illegal, something that put the man in a panic. What happened next was a desperate act of violence by a cornered man, a tragic case of being in the wrong place at the very worst time. The news brought a horrifying closure. Liam and Noah were exonerated, their names cleared of suspicion. But the relief was hollow, drowned out by an ocean of grief. The world now knew they were innocent, but they could never forgive themselves. The guilt of that night, of that stupid, meaningless fight, would be a life sentence. Years have passed. Northwood University is a distant memory. Liam became an architect, just as he planned, but he designs buildings that are solitary, functional, with no room for laughter. He never loved anyone the way he loved Maya. The spark that defined him died with her by that lake. Noah became an artist, but he doesn't paint vibrant portraits. He paints vast, empty landscapes, skies full of silent, watching stars. He and Liam rarely speak. The bond that was once their greatest strength is now a source of unbearable pain. It's a reminder of a constellation that was shattered, of two bright stars that were extinguished far too soon. The story of the four inseparable friends became a cautionary tale on campus, a ghost story whispered in the dorms. A story about how quickly everything can change, how one night can cast a shadow that lasts a lifetime. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more.
Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned.
The year is 1999. In the quiet, picturesque town of Medford, Oregon, a love story was blossoming, one that seemed destined for a fairy tale ending. Stephen and Amy, both in their early 20s, were the couple everyone admired. Stephen was a charming, ambitious young man with a passion for music, and Amy was a bright, artistic soul who saw the world in vibrant colors. They met in a local coffee shop where Amy worked part-time, and from that first moment, their connection was electric. Their dates were straight out of a romance novel: long walks under starry skies, picnics by the river, and endless conversations about their dreams for the future. Stephen would write songs for Amy, his melodies capturing the depth of his affection, and she would paint portraits of him, her brushstrokes filled with love. Their friends and family saw them as a perfect match. They complemented each other in every way, balancing his practicality with her free spirit. After a year of dating, Stephen proposed during a surprise trip to the Oregon coast. On a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean at sunset, he got down on one knee, and with tears of joy, Amy said yes. The wedding was planned for the following summer. They found a small house with a white picket fence and a garden where Amy could plant flowers. Their life together was just beginning, and it looked like nothing could ever go wrong. They were inseparable, not just as partners, but as best friends who shared every secret, every laugh, and every dream. Their love was a beacon of hope and happiness to everyone who knew them. But as is often the case in stories that seem too good to be true, a subtle shadow began to creep into their idyllic life. It started with small things, almost unnoticeable. Stephen, once so easygoing, became increasingly possessive. He would call Amy constantly when she was out with friends, his tone laced with an anxiety she couldn't quite understand. He'd question her about who she was with and what she was doing, framing it as concern for her safety. At first, Amy was touched by his attentiveness, thinking it was just a sign of how much he cared. She'd reassure him, laugh it off, and tell her friends how lucky she was to have a fiancé who loved her so deeply. However, the possessiveness soon morphed into something darker. Stephen's concerns started to feel more like control. He began to subtly disapprove of her friends, suggesting they were a bad influence. He'd make comments about her clothes, saying certain outfits were too revealing. One evening, Amy came home late from her art class, excited to show him her latest painting. Instead of sharing her joy, Stephen met her with a cold silence, followed by an interrogation about why she was 30 minutes late. The argument that followed was their first real fight, and it left Amy shaken. He accused her of not caring about his feelings, of being selfish. The next morning, he was full of apologies, showering her with flowers and promises that it would never happen again. Amy, deeply in love and wanting to believe in the man she fell for, forgave him. She told herself that every couple has rough patches and that their love was strong enough to overcome anything. But the incidents became more frequent. The cycle of tension, explosion, and remorseful reconciliation became a new, disturbing rhythm in their relationship. Stephen's jealousy grew, feeding on insecurities that Amy couldn't see. He started checking her phone, demanding her passwords. The man who once wrote her love songs now scrutinized her text messages for any hint of betrayal. Amy found herself walking on eggshells, carefully choosing her words and actions to avoid triggering his anger. Her vibrant, outgoing personality began to fade. She saw her friends less, quit her art class, and spent most of her time at home, trying to be the perfect, reassuring fiancé she thought he needed. She was losing herself, piece by piece, but she was convinced that her love could somehow heal him. She believed that the kind, charming Stephen she fell in love with was still in there, just hidden beneath a layer of fear and anxiety. She held on, hoping for the return of their perfect love story. The day before Valentine's Day in 2001 was meant to be special. Stephen told Amy he had a surprise planned, a romantic evening to make up for all the recent tension. He promised it would be just like old times. Amy felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the turning point. Maybe he finally understood how much his behavior was hurting her. That evening, he cooked her favorite meal. The house was filled with the soft glow of candlelight and the scent of roses. He played the first song he ever wrote for her, and for a few hours, it felt like they were back in the beginning. The charming, attentive Stephen was back. They talked, they laughed, and they danced in the living room. Amy's heart swelled with relief. This was the man she was going to marry. Everything was going to be okay. After dinner, Stephen pulled out a small, beautifully wrapped gift. He told her it was an early Valentine's present. Amy's hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside was a delicate silver locket. It was exquisite. "Open it," he whispered, his eyes fixed on hers. She clicked open the tiny clasp. On one side was a miniature photo of the two of them from the day he proposed, smiling and full of hope. On the other side, however, wasn't another photo. It was a tiny, intricate engraving. As her eyes adjusted to the small script, a chill ran down her spine. It read, "Together forever." The words, which should have been romantic, suddenly felt menacing. A sense of dread washed over her, cold and absolute. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. The romantic music now sounded eerie, and the candlelight cast long, dancing shadows on the walls. Stephen's smile had vanished, replaced by an expression she had never seen before, an unnerving combination of adoration and obsession. "Do you like it?" he asked, his voice low and intense. "Now we'll never be apart. Ever." Amy tried to force a smile, but her lips wouldn't obey. She felt a primal fear grip her. The locket felt heavy around her neck, like a chain. She suddenly realized this wasn't a romantic gesture. It was a declaration, a warning. She needed to get out. Making an excuse about feeling unwell, she tried to stand up, but Stephen's hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. His grip was like iron. "Where are you going?" he asked, his voice dangerously calm. "The night is just beginning. We have our whole forever to start." In that terrifying moment, Amy understood. The man she loved, the man she had promised to spend her life with, had become a stranger. The fairy tale had turned into a nightmare, and the door to her cage had just been locked. What happened next was a blur of terror. Amy's pleas to leave were met with a chilling calm. Stephen explained that he couldn't risk losing her. He had seen how other people looked at her, how her friends were trying to pull her away. He was convinced that if she left the house, she would never come back. His love had twisted into a terrifying obsession, and in his mind, the only way to keep her was to never let her go. The romantic evening descended into a hostage situation within the four walls of their own home. Amy spent the night in a state of sheer panic, trying to reason with a man who was no longer reasonable. He spoke of their future, of the children they would have, of how they would grow old together, all while refusing to let her leave the room. As the sun began to rise on Valentine's Day, Amy knew she had only one chance. While Stephen was in the kitchen making coffee, still talking about their forever, she saw her opportunity. Her cell phone was on the coffee table. With her heart pounding in her chest, she grabbed it and locked herself in the bathroom. Her fingers were shaking so violently she could barely dial 911. In a hushed, terrified whisper, she explained the situation. On the other side of the door, Stephen's voice changed from sweet to furious. He began banging on the door, demanding she come out, his loving words replaced by threats. The police arrived just in time. They found Amy huddled in the bathroom, and Stephen in the living room, surrounded by the remnants of their romantic dinner. He was arrested, looking completely bewildered, as if he couldn't understand what he had done wrong. Stephen was charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment. During the trial, a portrait emerged of a deeply insecure man whose fear of abandonment had spiraled into a dangerous obsession. Amy, though safe, was left with deep emotional scars. The love story that had once been her greatest joy had become the source of her deepest trauma. She had to rebuild her life from scratch, learning to trust again, to love again. Her story became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that love and control are two very different things. It shows that sometimes the most dangerous threats don't come from strangers, but from the people we are closest to. Amy's journey to healing was long, but she eventually found her way back to her art, using her paintings to process the pain and reclaim her identity. She learned that true love doesn't confine you, it sets you free. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more true stories that explore the complex nature of human relationships. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.